Ayuk is wide left. Debo goes in jet sweep motion. They jet pass it to him. He gets the edge. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Debo driving the bus around the corner.
There it was, some sound for the 49ers over the Washington Commanders, and that wasn't all the news that we just got. Niners now officially, minutes after that, find out that the Arizona Cardinals have dismantled and beaten the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia? In Philadelphia,
Yes,
a hell of a game, and they really were in control of that thing for the entirety of the game. The Niners win 27-10 handily over Washington. Look sharp doing so today. We'll talk more about this one in depth and get to your thoughts and your calls, and also big ups as they get the number one seed. They lock. It was best case scenario for the way this game ended today. They played a fast game, first game on the slate, basically to wrap up. They finished their game, and then within about 20 minutes, we see that the Cardinals come down, score a touchdown after the Eagles kick a field goal. Eagles then end it with an interception. Jalen Hurts does into the end zone on a Hail Mary pass, and the Niners are the number one seed in the NFC entering Week 18 against the Rams, who, by the way, I didn't actually. What happened there? I just didn't even see the final of that. I was prepping for this.
It was bad.
Did they blow
Crosby had a 54-yard field goal attempt, and the wind just took it. I mean, he kicked it, and the wind just took it.
That was a rough game.
And they
that was
missed
a rough
it.
game.
So the Rams, if Seattle loses, the Rams
are
in the
in.
playoffs,
Yeah.
or if the Rams win next week. And from Kyle's post-game press conference that Greg and Tim just played, it sounds to me like they're not going to be playing a whole lot of guys. I mean, he said post-game that you got to field the team, so not everybody could sit. But, I mean, it's pretty obvious. Christian McCaffrey's not going to play. Trent Williams not going to play. Nick Bosa's not going to play. Purdy probably won't play. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of guys who just rest because there's a ton of guys who have injuries. So, I mean, this is best-case scenario, guys. We thought maybe they'd beat the Ravens and win today in Washington, and they'd get home field and be able to rest. To have Arizona, and not only, as you said, win that game, they dominated. I mean, they gave up a 99-yard pick six. Philly was terrible. Arizona, if you go look at the stats and the yardage, Arizona crushed Philadelphia. They needed that final drive to win, but the Cardinals win 38-35, and now the 49ers basically have 2 weeks off before they got to play a game at home.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Dennis, your thoughts on the game today? Niners 27-10 over Washington. Brock Purdy steps right back up. I mean, again, I said this before the game, guys, that there's no situation really left instead of, short of walking into a Super Bowl matchup that Brock Purdy has not seen in his short time in the NFL, including now, and we'll talk more about this, him now being the single-season yardage passing leader for the 49ers. He passes Jeff Garcia on that final completion down to the goal line. It was Kyle Juszczyk he hit there right down to the one.
And I mean his backstory is amazing anyway. But to come in this league and play the way he's played, and we always use the words play at a high level, but this guy has truly played at the highest level as far as the franchise for. And and the 49ers have had a lot of really good quarterbacks. You pass Jeff Garcia. You pass Steve Young, Hall of Famer. So it says a lot about him. It says a lot about the way he approaches the football game, and he's always looked comfortable back there. He bounces back. I mean, he has a good game. He's got a great running game. His defense shows up for him. So I mean, he's played incredible. I just hope he can take it, 2 more games and then to Vegas for the Super Bowl because he's had a fantastic season. And
I want to note that real quick. You show me the single-season passing leader for any team that did not have great players around him. I guarantee you, we'll look at players on that offense. We'll go, that tight end, that receiver, that running back was a great pass catcher. You're not getting that done without guys on the back end who are making big plays. John, your thoughts in general on this dismantling of Washington?
I thought they got to go into the second half. I think there was a little bit of a hangover, and I would know hangovers. There was a little bit of a hangover in the first half. They just weren't all that sharp. They took the 10-zip lead, and I thought they said, well, they're going to back it up. And then all of a sudden, the next 2 drives, Washington scores. The play of the game, obviously, and Dennis, you can speak to this. Steve Wilkes calls a great zero blitz. Mooney Ward, as he's done all season long, gets the interception. They're driving. It's at the games the balls inside the 49ers 5, and Mooney gets up, runs it back. That part didn't count, but then they go all the way down the field. Great throw from Brock Purdy for the 38 yards to
Unbelievable
Ayuk.
Throw, man. Unbelievable throw.
For the touchdown, he goes right. He scrambles out of the pocket, goes right, throws it back left to Ayuk, and he scores a touchdown. And at that point, the game's over. It's 27-10.
By the way, Ayuk had lined up on the right side there, too. We're back to rewatch the play. He's on the right side, and Purdy sort of evades everybody, runs out, sort of Jeff Garcia-like, runs to the right side, stops, points, looks back. I thought his awareness today was like I know that their pass rush is not great, especially since moving Sweat and Chase Young. I thought there were several plays where the pocket kind of collapsed on him. He stepped up, looked around. He had one play in the second half where Juszczyk was just kind of standing on the left side, just shy of a first down marker, and he was looking downfield. He noticed Juszczyk, and Juszczyk just waited, kind of flared out more, and once the play broke down, he knew he had the outlet valve. I thought today Brock was as good as he's ever been. I mean, he was fantastic, and again, sets the single-season record for passing yardage by a 49er quarterback, and why don't we make that the stat of the game? The stat of the game is, of course, sponsored, John. You knew that, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and you knew that, of course, because you're a great host, that it was sponsored by Stevens Creek Toyota. Shop a huge selection of over 500. Yeah, you know what I'm doing. Shop a huge selection of over 500 vehicles. Stevens Creek Toyota, the obvious choice. Why don't we tack on a couple other stats here as the Niners win 27-10, move to 12-4, and after Philadelphia loses to the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray, Niners have clinched. They've locked up the number 1 seed in the NFC playoff picture. How about this? George Kittle goes over 1,000 yards from scrimmage today on the season. McCaffrey goes over 2,000 yards from scrimmage today on the season. Purdy passes Jeff Garcia for most passing yards in a season by a 49er quarterback. Brendan Ayuk picks up his 6th 100-yard receiving game of the season. Who's the last guy to do that in a year? T.O.?
That's a good one.
I mean, I would bet it was T.O.
Well, I know the number for the 2 over 1,000 now, and if Debo's not going to play in that final game or not much, so he's not going to go over 1,000. But Kittle and Ayuk, the first time since Jerry Rice and Terrell Owens in 1998. So a lot of firsts today. Plus Christian McCaffrey going over 2,000 scrimmage yards. He's only the 3rd player in NFL history to do it for 2 separate teams. He obviously went over 2,000 scrimmage yards with Carolina. The only other 2, Marshall Faulk, Colts and Rams, and then Eric Dickerson, Rams and Colts. So a lot of firsts, a lot of records today.
Wow. How about Colts and Rams than Rams and Colts? That's weird.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That's bizarre,
That's
dude. That's bizarre. Niners 27-10 over the Washington Commandos. They come on home for one more game, take on the L.A. Rams. How about just kick the crap out of the Rams just for good measure?
Yeah, why not?
Just to keep the streak
Knock them
going.
out of the playoffs.
Yes, how about this? 12 straight games now Niners have won against the NFC West. Last loss came in the NFC Championship to the Rams a few years ago, and that includes that win over Seattle in the playoffs last year in the divisional round. So Niners know where they're playing wildcard weekend. They're not. They're sitting at home, getting some rest, kicking their feet up. One more game here, as Kyle said. Not a lot of guys going to play. We'll talk more about this one. Brock, 22 of 28, 230, 8.2 per attempt. He goes 2 touchdown passes, and the pretty cool thing about him setting the Niner passing record in yardage for one season, he does it in 16 games. How about that? No asterisk here for anybody. No nonsensical talk about, well, he had one more game. No, dude, he just did it. He just handled business, and the Niners are the 1 seed. More to come. 808 KNBR, 415-808-5627 is the number to call. Also the number to text. We are streaming. KNBR.com, the KNBR app, twitch.tv/thesportsleader, and on YouTube. Niners 27-10 over Washington. They're the 1 seed. Only here on The Sports Leader.
Here we go. Go, Kyle. Let me get in that. Number one seed. Let's go. We got in. Let's go.
That was a lot of screaming. What was that? Just hyped up? Was that 49? What was that, Danny? You get that?
That was it was Mike Silver holding a phone where Debo and Ayuk and a couple other Niners were watching on his phone the final play of the game in which the Eagles lost to the Cardinals. So give credit to Mike Silver, who was holding his phone.
I will give credit. I will give credit to Mike Silver. Would love to give credit to Mike Silver. Give Mike Silver as much credit as I can. I honestly would like. I prefer to hear Mike Silver yelling into the mic. Just hearing his reaction to that game and how that ended. Anyway, Niners 27-10 over the Washington Commanders. 415-808 KNBR. 415-808-5627 is the number to call and to text as the Niners have locked up the number one seed. Why don't we get right into this game and start with the difference maker of this one, sponsored by Benjamin Moore Paints. Experience the Benjamin Moore retail difference at our independently owned authorized retailers today or at benjaminmoore.com. Difference maker from this one. We both pick we all pick a player to bank on before the game, but the difference maker of the game, basically it's like, who do you like to be right about and who were you right about? Dennis, you picked before the game, you went with a defensive lineman. Who'd you go with? Chase Young.
Chase Young, yeah.
What'd you think about his impact on the game?
I mean,
did he make a difference?
It wasn't a big impact. I mean, you know, he I know he might have got a half a sack. He got a couple of hurries. You know, he wasn't a big difference maker in the game, but you know, he was out there. He got one tackle, so.
Do you have? Because I'll tell you who was. Bosa absolutely was. Bosa got a sack,
definitely.
and he was wreaking havoc.
Definitely.
Like play after play, it felt like it seemed like every time he got through. I mean, not even got through. Anytime they decided to line up with one guy there, he was beating him. It was pretty impressive what he did today. I know the O-line for them was decimated. Their secondary was messed up. It was a recipe for disaster for them, and the Niners feasted in the way they should have. You can look at this as a get-right game and kind of leave that one in your memory as the last good taste you had, maybe going to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, definitely.
For some of the starters.
Yeah, and, you know, Nick Bosa, we know what Nick Bosa does. I mean, he's going to show up every football game. That's, as John likes to say, that's low-hanging fruit. He's going to do what he does. Again, you know, he has a good game. He pressures the quarterback. He plays the run well. But I think defense as a whole, I think they played – I mean, there were some times there were some big – explosive plays against the 49ers defense, but again, they bend and don't break.
All right, John, let's get to you. Your difference maker, because before the game, you thought Christian McCaffrey would have a big one. What do you think? What do you think of his performance, or what do you think of how it ended?
He was on pace to. I mean, in the first two drives of the game,
he was
had
incredible.
13 touches.
Yeah.
So their whole game plan, and I thought this would be the case to settle everybody in, get Christian McCaffrey. You know, it's again low-hanging fruit. It's pretty easy. And until he hurt the calf, then you know he was their entire offense. But give credit to Elijah Mitchell. He came in 80 yards, his first touchdown of the year. I mean, look, this was a guy that was over 900 yards his rookie year, and he was banged up, but he was their bell cow, and he was doing a pretty good job at it. And a lot of teams would like to have this guy. So it sounded like, and Kyle said this after the game, if you're just tuning into us, not only did the 49ers win, but the Eagles improbably lost to the Cardinals at home today, which means the Niners have the number one seed throughout. So next week against the Rams, Christian's not going to play. He said it would have been questionable if he would have played in this game, but in 2 weeks against whomever they play in the divisional round, I got to believe that McCaffrey's going to be ready to go. It's hard to get him off the field anyway. So, again, just real good luck for the 49ers to be able to sit Christian McCaffrey in what would have been a must-win game for the NFC's number one seed, and now McCaffrey's going to sit Elijah Mitchell, who was part of the guys interviewed Greg and Tim. Talk about this, bro. After the game, they talked to him and just said, "Hey, bro, talk about your fresh legs." And he talked about his fresh legs. So what
did he say about it? He's like, "Those legs are fresh, bro."
Bro, your legs are fresh.
What are those
right?
legs, bro? Those are fresh, bro.
Bro, fresh legs, bro. Talk about it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So I wasn't. I think the concept was right that they were going to use him, but thank goodness for Elijah Mitchell and Mason. We're going to see a lot of them next week.
I tell you what, they talk about letdown games for teams, and oftentimes they come after big victories. Like today would have been, I don't know that it would have been a prime letdown game for Baltimore because they were going up against Miami, and Miami could come in and do damage to them and potentially mess up Lamar's chances, or Tua could with a big performance of winning the MVP. They could come in and mess with their chances at the number one seed after what the Browns did the other day. And instead, Lamar Jackson made sure today he's the MVP. And I got to tell you, as happy and as thrilled as I am that the Niners are the one seed, because I think their chances of winning the Super Bowl maintain as high as they've ever been in the Shanahan era. right now because of being the 1 seed. If they were not the 1 seed, and if they still had to play starters next week, I'd be more concerned about, or starters in their entirety next week, I'd be more concerned about their chances just because of the health of the team. But after seeing what Baltimore did today to Miami, I know Miami's a bully, and we've talked about that a bunch this year. Them in Dallas, they kind of beat up on bad teams. They lose to quality teams. They both struggle on the road. They were going like punch for punch in the first couple of drives with Lamar, and then Lamar threw for 5 touchdowns. I mean, it was incredible. I look at that team and I'm like,
a lot better too.
He looked better now.
He looked like an MVP today. I mean, if he's going to win it, but I mean, he was a reason why they scored those points last week. He was just okay.
I mean, he's the reason they're good.
Yeah, look, he's going to win the MVP. They're going to be the favorite probably if the Niners and Ravens get to the Super Bowl as 2 number 1 seeds now who have clinched it. But I still feel good about what the Niners can do. And look, they get beat like that. And yet, still, they clinch before they even have to play the Rams. It's just the fortunate event of today to have Jonathan Gannon, the former defensive coordinator of the Eagles, come in and beat the Eagles. Something's wrong in Philadelphia. After the year, I don't know if it's Jalen Hurts' injury. The defense is terrible. As you said, Adam, the doors are just opening up. Dallas can't win on the road, and they'd have to come here and win on the road, which they haven't beaten a good team on the road all season. They haven't beaten a good team on the road. They haven't beaten a playoff team on the road all year. Philly's falling apart. It's too early for Detroit. I don't have faith in Jared Goff. Squarely, the 49ers should be in Las Vegas. Unless there's a major injury or two, the 49ers should be in Vegas.
Hey, I tell you,
question.
The way it's lining up right now, Niners maybe squaring off with the LA Rams in the divisional round weekend. Their first game of the postseason. We'll see how that plays out. But they've won 6 of their last 7 now, and if Seattle loses, then they lock up their playoff berth. And Seattle right now down 10-7 in the second quarter at home against Pittsburgh. We'll talk more about this game, more about what's going on around the league. 808 KNBR, how you feeling now after the Niners lock up the 1 seed and a whole bunch of records set? Niners have 3 guys. Is it 3 guys over 1,000 yards from scrimmage? Debo's not going to get there?
Right. Debo's going to be over scrimmage-wise, but
scrimmage,
not
they've got 4 over 1,000, not receiving.
But not from receiving standpoint because he just won't play enough next week. He's about 150 short, something in that range.
Yeah,
but he's over 1,000 scrimmage. McCaffrey's over 2,000 scrimmage, and Ayuk and Kittle are over 1,000 receiving. So, and Brock's over 4,000, and like you said earlier, he set the passing yardage record. And the thing is, why that's meaningful, he did it in 16 games because everyone's going to come out and say, oh, he did it in 17. Now he did it in 16, which is the same amount it took Garcia. So
that's incredible. Fantastic stuff. Brock Purdy leads the Niners to victory today, as does the defense. We'll talk more about that one and the 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives. The Niners shut them down defensively in the second half. Did not allow a point. Punt, interception, punt, and a turnover on downs to end it for the Commanders, and the Niners scored on 3 straight drives. Niners win 27-10. They're the 1 seed. Your call's next on the Sports Leader.
I mean, just like what I said before in the other conferences, in terms of, just feeling bad for my team, and their mindset going into that game. Everyone was ready to play, and I feel like I obviously didn't play up to the standard that I hold myself to, and that's what I meant. Like, I just felt like I'd let them down, and so. But they had my back all week, and to be able to come out in a game like this and get the ball rolling again and put up some points and defense do their thing, it felt good. So.
That was Brock Purdy there after another brilliant performance by him. I say another, even after last week's 4-interception day that more than likely, especially after what Lamar Jackson did today, lost Brock Purdy the MVP. And I don't think that's what's important. I think what was important is the number 1 seed is Dennis Brown, a Super Bowl champion, is sitting right here shaking his head. Dude, you're already getting nervous. By the way, you should know this, John. I said to Dennis, I was like, all right, dude, now it's getting real. I said, they locked up the 1 seed. Now I'm feeling like, okay, that's step 2. 1 was division, but really you're just looking for the 1 seed. If you get the 1 seed, all that's coming with you. So they get the 1 seed, that's step 1. Step 2 is get to the Super Bowl, which you've done. Step 3, win the Super Bowl. Step 4, we got to plan a parade, right? Then we start on the celebration stuff. But getting the number 1 seed when there is 1 team in each conference, after we saw what happened last year, I've got to believe if they get it last year, it's a different result for the season because you're not playing the extra game. It was a big deal. Now that they have locked that up, I feel as good as I've ever felt about them getting back to the Super Bowl this year based on the quality of the NFC right now and the fact that they're going to be rested and have that bye locked up going into next week.
Yeah, and I struggle because it's
Dennis is nervous. He's like, I don't know, man. He's like, we went to break, and he was like, I don't know if I can do this.
It's like if a shoulda, coulda, woulda. I mean, that's what we've been talking about for 5 seasons. I mean, if this, if that. And I think I come from a space where what the expectations are, and the expectations is to win a Super Bowl. I mean, I was, not to brag, but I was on the last Super Bowl. I'm an old man. It was 95 when a Lombardi Trophy came here, and every year it's you've been to the Super Bowl twice. Yes, unfortunately you've lost it twice.
It may as well have not happened in my life.
Yeah, and it's a struggle. And last season and the season before that, Jimmy Graham. I mean,
and the Harbaugh close calls,
man. So it's kind of been if this would happen, if that would have happened, and I'm getting set up again. You got 2 games now. You got a divisional game and a championship game, and they're coming through your home. All you got to do is win those games, get to Super Bowl, and take care of business. But it's stressful. It's stressful.
It is because I agree with you, Dennis. I'm not going to use the word failure because there's a couple of words I just don't like. Hate is so definitive as a word, and it's become so destructive in our society. I don't want to get political, but I don't like the word hate.
Yeah, I hate hate.
And then I don't like that word at all. And then I hate or don't like the word that I just said it. I dislike the word failure when it comes to sports. If you have a failure to me is like you went 0-17, like you just didn't do anything. You can't say that the 49ers season is a failure if they don't win a Super Bowl this year, but it's a disappointment. I think that anybody within that building would tell you it would be a disappointment because as we look at this thing, the earliest guys they can play, and listeners have pointed this out to me, thank you very much, the earliest they can play is January 20th. Today is the 31st, so they would basically get 3 weeks off. They're either going to play either Saturday the 20th or Sunday the 21st. So we're talking about McCaffrey's calf, 3 weeks. Eric Armstead's plantar fasciitis, 3 weeks. Aaron Banks' toe, 3 weeks. I can go on down the line with all the injuries, but this is a banged-up football team. They have 3 weeks to get better. Now, some guys got to play next week. There's no question, but even a half they're probably going to play. You're going to see some roster shuffling. Some guys are going to play, but if you've got some sort of an injury right now or you're an older player, or a Nick Bosa, you're just not going to play. So now they have 3 weeks. The teams that are going to come in here potentially are the Rams, maybe could be a team like that if they could beat the Lions. You've handled them pretty well, at least in the regular season.
Yep.
You've beaten the Cowboys this year badly at home. You've beaten Philadelphia on the road. The type of teams that are going to come in here for these next 2 weeks, the pressure is all on the 49ers because they have 3 weeks for most of these injuries. The teams that would come in here would be teams you've already handled or teams you should absolutely handle. It's an advantage even if they have to play the Rams in a couple of weeks because they don't have to show the Rams anything if they did meet them in the playoffs. Detroit, to me, they're paper lions. They're not ready to win it this year with Jared Goff at quarterback. This is a tremendous opportunity. You win 2 games. You should be healthy as you possibly are going to be, and I got a feeling you're going to try to get revenge on the Ravens in the second Sunday of February.
Well, things are coming up 49ers. They are quite literally getting every bit of help and everything favorably in their direction that they needed. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Seattle taking care of business against Philadelphia. You got the Cowboys beating Philadelphia. They themselves took care of what they needed to in beating Philadelphia. Now the Arizona Cardinals help you out, and you lose to Baltimore, but it doesn't have to be detrimental, and it's not. They end up handling business, finished 10-1. Not finished 10-1. They are 10-1 now in the NFC, and they got one more against the NFC, 12 in a row against the NFC West as they take on the Rams next week. Let's get to Protecting the Quarterback, sponsored by the Contra Costa County Office of the Sheriff. Protect your community and apply for a new career in law enforcement at cocosheriff.org today, and sponsored by Bay Alarm. Worry less about your people and your property with Bay Alarm. BayAlarm.com. Brock Purdy not sacked in the game at all. 22 of 28. Is that right? Was that the final passing numbers for Brock?
Just looked him up.
I just had him. I couldn't remember 22. 22 of 28 is what he finished with.
Right.
8.2 per attempt at 230 for the game. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was not sacked. A 124.7 passer rating. 1 sack in the game, but not really. It's Sam Darnold's kneel downs there at the end of the game. In terms of Sam Howell, the most sacked quarterback in the league this year, or one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the league this year, threw a couple of picks, and they were getting to him. He was just heaving the ball to get rid of it a few times. The guy can throw. If he had some more protection, he would be a little bit more dangerous, I think, like he was early in the year. They only got home once. It was Nick Bosa for his, I don't know how you say this, his 11.5. He had 10.5 coming in. He picked up one more, so he's at 11.5 now for the season. I wouldn't say concern, but just thoughts on D-line play, Dennis, over the last couple of weeks. I mean, without Armstead, I know they missed Hargrave at one point. They have not been nearly as they haven't tallied the stat numbers like they had over that 3 or 4 game stretch.
Yeah, and we haven't seen that goal rush in a couple weeks now. And I think it's because teams are game planning. I mean, a lot of quick screens, smoke screens, just getting the ball. I mean, just knowing and being aware of that pass rush, just getting the ball out as quick as possible. But you got a lot of talent on the defensive line, and you would expect more sacks. But they just haven't been coming. And, truth be told, getting a sack is tough in the National Football League. You do have a 300-pound man in front of you trying to defend, trying to keep that quarterback upright. So, I mean, you have a lot of talent. Sacks come in bunches. But I think teams have been kind of scheming for that pass rush, and with a lot of run, a lot of quick screens, a lot of draws and things like that. But definitely you want to see that goal rush come back to where it was early in the football season.
Yeah, and again, I think this the fresh legs, and it'll be interesting to see. Anybody with an injury designation won't play next week, so Armstead, Banks, I don't know about Jennings and his concussion. Maybe they want to give him a few reps. But what's going to be so great is having off until January 20th or 21st, depending on what day they play. You saw Mitchell in the live legs that he had, and he mentioned it after the game. Dennis, you can speak to this. I mean, you get a couple of weeks off. You get Nick Bosa off his feet for a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks, maybe January 30th or 20th. I mean, they're going to be practicing hard. There's no question about it. They're going to try to stay fresh, which I'm sure is a challenge to not play in that amount of time. But that's where the advantage comes in. There's only one of these buys on each side, and the other teams have to play through this. I just saw a video of Devontae Smith leaving the Eagles game. Not only did they get beat by the Cardinals, he left on crutches, and all of a sudden the Eagles, they're probably going to drop to the 5 seed. If Dallas beats Washington next week, which they should do, Dallas is going to get the 2 seed in the NFC, and the Eagles are going to have to play a 5 seed, which means going to have to play the NFC South winners. And I don't even know if they get by that game. And Devontae Smith's got basically 2 weeks. If he's got an injury, that's the boat that the 49ers avoid, because they're going to be able to rest so many players, or at least play guys maybe a half and then get them off their feet until January 20th.
49ers, big victory today, and an even bigger victory by the Arizona Cardinals to take down the Philadelphia Eagles, and they are a team that is in disarray. I mean, I don't see anybody in the NFC right now that is posing as a threat to the 49ers. We'll talk more about that. 808 KNBR is the number to call or to text if you want to get involved. Also, our YouTube chat is live. A lot of people hanging out on the YouTube stream at KNBR 104.5. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, John Lund hanging out with you. Brock Purdy sets the single-season passing record for 49er quarterbacks, and the Niners are the 1 seed after a 27-10 victory in D.C. More to come right here on the Sports Leader.
That was fun. That was lit. I didn't realize what they were doing at first. I saw everybody out there right in the hallway after the game watching it, and then we all were in Kyle's office watching it just right now. But that was pretty cool. It's the moments like that where we go handle our business out there, and then we get an opportunity to just watch the rest of the league and let it play out in our favor with another team getting a win. So that was pretty cool. A moment that I'll for sure remember forever. Top seed.
That was Brandon Ayuk, who had another big game for the 49ers. Caught a touchdown today, and honestly, I think the best connection pass to catch that we've ever seen between Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk on the final touchdown drive, on the drive where Ayuk ended it with a touchdown on kind of a broken play where Brock rolled right. He went back left to the end zone and was standing by himself. Brock found him, threw back across the field, and hit him kind of over a couple defenders. The throw right before that set that up, the 38-yard completion right over the shoulder, like into the breadbasket.
Perfect.
That one of the. I mean, I won't say it's the best because I can't think of every throw Brock's ever made, but in recent memory, and I know we've seen a lot of good ones, that might be number one for me this year in throws between those two guys.
Yeah, it was a nice touch. Nice, we talk about, Brock and his arm strength, and does he have it? Can he make all the throws? I mean, that throw and the throw to Juice. I'll just say Juice. I got lost there.
I was like, I got
stuck.
You're gonna go with use Juice?
Juice. I was trying to. Yeah, I got. But that throw that he actually dropped. That was a nice throw too. But
he took a shot. That was a good throw.
Yeah.
That was a great call. I thought that throw. I was like, man, that was a beautiful throw.
That was a nice.
Brock was heaving. It was almost like he was throwing pissed.
Yeah,
he had some great throws today.
All seasons long. He's made some great throws. And everything that and remember, this is a guy that had that elbow. We didn't know he was even going to play this season, and he comes out and he beats all the records after that surgery. So good quarterback, good throw. What can you say? That throw was perfect. Other throws, tight windows, cross the body. I'm sure Kyle Shanahan was having a fit on the sidelines as he turns around and he finds you find the receiver in the back of the end zone, throwing across the body, doing everything he's not supposed to do, but comes out successful at touchdown.
Yeah, it's like everything it just came up, like you said it perfectly, Adam. It came up 49ers, and it has been doing that for weeks. Hopefully the injury bug stays away. Christian McCaffrey's going to have nearly 3 weeks again, January 20th or 21st. The 20th is a Saturday, so they'll play on one of those games, but for all intents and purposes, that's 3 weeks. And so guys who have been hurt, that's CMC, that's Armstead, that's Jennings, that's Brown, and then I'd be shocked if anybody on this list, like a Purdy, Bosa, Debo, Warner, Ward, Hargrave, you got to play somebody, so not everybody's going to sit. But I got to believe that they'll go hard in practice. They'll try to stay sharp. Is that hard to do, Dennis? You get a bye week like you guys did. It was a couple when you guys got it, but you guys were the last 49ers team to get the number one seed and actually win the playoffs. This is the 10th time they'll have the number one seed in the NFC, but they haven't won a Super Bowl since you guys won it. So when you get that week off, is that tough? Is it tough the first few minutes when you're playing the divisional round after not playing for basically a week or so?
Well, it was different. So, a lot of games, you talk about a game that didn't mean anything. Starters always played. No one sat on the sidelines.
That's what I was going to say. Is week 18 or week 17, then that's the one that concerns me because then you're talking I think back to the first time Sean McVay and the Rams, I think it might have been his first year. That was the year I think the Niners beat him week 17 because they sat everybody. They had beaten the Jaguars. Niners did. That was the Jimmy Garoppolo 2017 year, I think.
Right.
Garoppolo comes in, wins his final 5, but the Rams, I think, had locked everything up and had their bye. They went into their divisional round. I can't remember the score, but they looked sloppy. They looked rusty, and it's an offense.
It was Minnesota.
It was Minnesota, right?
It was the first game against Minnesota, and luckily enough, Minnesota just wasn't good enough. But you're right. They did start slowing that game. I remember Kendrick Bourne caught a touchdown as their first score, and kind of everybody in the stadium kind of exhaled. I remember it was like, God, this is kind of slow. Jimmy threw an interception to Kendricks, the Buzz linebacker, like he always did. Jimmy didn't see the linebacker. And so they kind of they had a slow start to that playoff game, but then they just dominated kind of after maybe the first quarter. And then, of course, the Packers were never in it because it was just the Raheem Mostert game, and they just ran it. I think Jimmy threw it 8 times in that game.
Yeah, that's so the NFC Championship.
Right. So, it was really relatively easy as far as the playoffs were concerned, but you're right. I do remember that Minnesota divisional game. Kind of getting it. I never felt threatened by Minnesota.
Who fell down? Was it Witherspoon fell down up the sideline?
Yeah,
on the Stephon Diggs touchdown.
Yeah, and so it was just kind of a weird, slow start to that game. But then they came on, they beat them. You never really felt threatened. But like you said, if you rest a lot of people, which they're going to do against the Rams because they do have quite a few injuries and quite a few veterans, like Trent Williams isn't playing in that game. There's no way. Bosa's not playing in that game. I mean, you might have Purdy for a series or two. You might have Warner for a series or two. Ward's been banged up, had a lot of muscle injuries. I don't think he's going to play in that game. So, a lot of guys aren't going to play, which means they're not going to – we're on December 31st, so they're not going to play a game for literally 3 weeks, either the 20th or the 21st of January, where they get back on the field. And again, Dennis, I defer to you. I mean, will it take a minute or two after not playing for – I mean, you're playing a lot of practice. I get it. And they're going to try to, I'm sure, simulate games. But you wouldn't have gone against another player for about 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to speak to it. Like I started off. I mean, we played the 16 games. There was no resting starters at the end of the – even if you had it locked up, even if you were in the playoffs, you didn't rest at all, that last preseason game or that last game, and it turns into a preseason game. And that's what kind of worries me a lot, that, you take that week off. So now you have a week, the starters understand they're not going to play, so you don't really prepare yourself for a football game. Then you have a week off, and then now you got to get yourself in the mindset. I think it's just something you have to carry on each week, and that was the attitude we always had. Each week you have to have the same attitude, your preparation, your pregame, and playing in football games. But, like I said, it's a different athlete now. I don't know if it's proven that this works, but yeah, you want your guys healthy. But there was a time when we just played through it, and we showed up on Sunday and did what we had to do. So we'll see. These are things that kind of frustrate me. Next week we'll have to watch this game, and then it'll look like a preseason game. You have guys out there that you're trying to get a look at, get some reps, but your starters are on the sidelines, and they've now had a week where they didn't get themselves ready mentally for a football game. Then you have another week where you don't get yourself mentally for a football game. So hopefully it works out, but these are things that frustrate me.
I'm just looking at the 1994 schedule real quick here before we take a break. And 808 KNBR, the number if you want to get involved here on the text line or the phone lines or on the YouTube chat at KNBR 1045. Your guys' final game, week 17 of the 94 season that you won the Super Bowl, it was a Monday night game, first of all. You went to Minnesota, and you guys lost 13-3. And you'd already locked up the 1 seed then. If
so
it was it didn't matter. So, look, Dennis said everybody played back then.
Yeah, we all played. I mean, I don't think
Dennis
guys
played all
said
7 preseason games, whatever the hell you had.
Yeah, it was
too.
probably 8. I think Jesse said it was 10 last week.
It's like 10.
Yeah, he was
Stop it, dude. Dude. It's like a high school season, man. That's crazy. It's like 2 months long. Yeah. 21-14. You guys went 13-3. You fell to the Vikings, and it does not look like everybody played the entirety of the game. Gerbach came in and took Gerbach played much more than Steve did. It looks like Steve maybe played a quarter, stay fresh. It was like a preseason final game.
Oh,
it's like make sure he's playing.
And what happened to Gerbach? He ended up being a pretty good.
He got traded to Kansas City, right? And he played for a while.
Yeah, he played some good football.
And the Ravens, that's right. He might have been the backup on that Ravens Super Bowl team in 2000 that lost.
He was, and then he took over for Trent Dilfer the next year. They said the defense held us, and then Gerbach stunk.
Listen, you guys didn't play that many guys. Ricky only had 7 carries. Yeah, hardly anybody played for you guys in that game. But Dennis played every snap, it looks like. When we come on back, more on the 49ers winning 27-10 over Washington. We'll give you a look around the league, what's going on with the scores around the NFL. If Seattle loses, then the Rams are in automatically, and that's great for all of us, boys, and the schedule for next week. We don't know when the Niners and Rams play. Could be Saturday, could be Sunday. Will we find out tonight? Should we find out by the end?
Yeah, we'll definitely know.
We might know by the end of this round here.
To be honest, I thought we were going to get a Sunday night game before this game, because what looked like was going to happen was the 49ers would be playing for the NFC number 1 seed, and the Rams would be playing for a playoff. And now it looks like the Rams could just be playing for positioning, and the 49ers already have it. So the Niners could even play on Saturday, which, again, aids extra time for even an extra day for some of these guys to get healthier if some of these guys play. Because like Kyle said after the game, you can't rest everybody. They may minimally play some guys, but I mean, they don't have backups they do have backups, but not at every single position. Like the offensive line, some of those guys are just going to have to play and suck it up.
Like if Jennings comes back from concussion protocol, maybe he plays a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
get him out there because he hasn't played in a couple weeks.
Yeah. But I mean, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, hi Danny Gray, you're finally healthy. Danny Gray is going to be playing, and Willie Snead's going to be playing, and Chris Conley's going to be playing.
Yeah, my guy Bill Snead out there, dude.
Right. I mean, Braden Willis, welcome to the NFL, Braden Willis, because George Kittle ain't playing. You know, he gets banged up a lot. So these key guys are going to be, Trent Williams is not playing.
I will never forget that Thursday night game we had during COVID, like against the Packers or something, where Nicky Mullins was throwing balls to.
It was so
was it Nick Mullins was throwing balls to like Craycraft?
Yeah,
like Richie James went off for like.
I mean, if you got Rams tickets, before word gets out, you might want to put those on the secondary.
You might want to see what happens. You might want to put those out quick before.
Hey, you
the
know
end
what,
of the Seahawks
Bob?
game.
You did a great job in 2023. I'm going to give you some Rams-Niners tickets.
When's the game? Sunday at 6 a.m. All right, when we come on back, is there anybody in the NFC that, again, I don't think there's anybody that's a legitimate threat on the NFC side of things. I'm not loving the idea of seeing Baltimore again in the Super Bowl, to be honest with you, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Is there anybody that you just would be like, a little bit uncomfortable, don't want to have to see them? We'll talk about that next. Niners 27-10. They're setting records. They're claiming buys. They're the number one seed in the NFC. And if things hold for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Seahawks, things will be coming up. Adam, Dennis, and John probably schedule-wise for next weekend as well. Only here on the Sports Leader. '49ers over the Washington Commanders 27-10 the final as they move to 12-4 now, can pick up their 13th and final win of the regular season next week. A home game against the LA Rams. Kyle did talk after the game about how much we would see the starters, and it doesn't sound like we'll see a lot of them for all that long, if at all, next week. Christian McCaffrey did leave today's game with a bit of a calf strain and stayed out for the remainder of the game after leaving in the third quarter, but no harm, no foul. Elijah Mitchell, a great second half, a great third quarter, and we saw a lot of that last year. We'll talk more about that as our post-game show continues, but first we got to get to our post-game player interview, which is sponsored by the Handlery Union Square Hotel, San Francisco's oldest family-owned hotel. And our post-game player interview today, Charvarius Ward, who had an interception. What's he got, 5 now on the season? 5 picks for Charvarius Ward, leads the 49ers. He and Fred Warner were both tied with 4. Here's Charvarius Ward on the Niner win after the game.
Over the 2, right up, what? Come on, Kyler. Here we go. Come on, Kyler. Let me get him at number 1 feed. Let's go. He got in. Let's go.
Here are the Niner players. That's Tracy Sandler's feed. As Tracy rolling on the Niners in the locker room as they found out that Philadelphia had lost to Arizona 35-31. And this game turned on the interception by Charvarius Ward late third quarter and on the 5-yard line. So, Mooney, man, congratulations.
Appreciate it.
You're going to be a Pro Bowler on Wednesday. I think we'll find out you're all pro.
I'm trying to go all pro.
Yeah, I know. And then get to the Super Bowl and win that.
100%.
Just give me your reaction. We heard Tracy Sandler's Twitter feed, and you guys. So after the game was over, you went back in the locker room and watched the Eagles lose?
Yeah, everybody was gathered up to watch the game. It was exciting, we was kind of nervous, hoping the Cardinals didn't blow it at the end. Once they won it, we was ecstatic.
Charvarius, you've played so good this year, big dog, and I've told you before, you're Defensive Player of the Year if you catch all the interceptions you had opportunities to do. You've made them count recently. Take us through that one today, because without question, that one flipped the game as they were in scoring position going in.
Yeah, so we was in cover 0. I saw the route coming the whole time, I was just praying he threw the ball, and once I seen it coming, I knew I was going to take advantage of the opportunity, and that's exactly what I did. So, our game, I felt like I had good coverage. Sometimes he didn't throw it. If he would have threw it, I would have had more than one interception, but I was grateful to get that one
and he was trying to go to McLaurin, their best receiver, it looked like, on that end cut. I want you to talk about the pass rush, because there was only 1 sack today, but impact rushes all over the place, and talk about how that changes how you guys play, that you can start sitting on some of those routes.
Yeah, obviously we got the best D-line and front 7 in the world in the whole NFL, so we can always rely on those guys to get pressure and not worry about the quarterback scrambling around too much, so that gives us the opportunity to sit on routes and, slow down and not backpedal and break on balls quick, and that's what me and Demo kind of did today.
Yeah, and Demo with another big day. Talk about his improvement since you've been here. You've watched him just grow into a really terrific player, and moving in to play the slot on the inside. Yeah. He is tenacious. Talk about Demo Lenore a little bit.
I feel like Demo time coming. He's been getting better and better each game. Next year, I for sure see Demo going, Pro Bowl, potentially All Pro. He could have almost had 2 or 3 interceptions today. So, he the hyena, he a dog. He's not scared of nothing. He'll attack you, hit you in the run game. He'll cover his behind off in the pass game. Demo definitely, one of my favorite players in the whole NFL. Just the way he plays, like he's not scared of nothing. He can play inside, outside. He's just a scrappy, hard working, hard fighting player.
And like the rest of you guys, I think he is underrated. It seemed like Logan Ryan did all right out there today.
Yeah, 11-year vet, Logan, right. How many Super Bowls you won? 2, 3 Super Bowls?
He won 2.
Yeah, he won 2 Super Bowls. So, it's great to have that experience in the room. He real smart, played amazing today, He did what we expected him to do.
So how's your body, and how do you want to handle this now? Because the Ram game is not important. You obviously want to go out and deal with Puka and Cooper Kupp, and maybe you have to play them in the playoffs if they win. But you are going to have wild card weekend off, so the next meaningful game you will play, Mooney man, would be January 20th or 21st. Do you want to keep playing? How does your body feel right now?
My body feel amazing, man. I'm still young. I'm only 27 years old, so I feel good. I feel like I can play again right now. But the most important thing is gonna be staying healthy. But we don't want to get rested. So I feel like whatever coach do next week regarding the starters, whether we play or not, I feel like we got to come out and work hard in practice and get better in practice, because we don't know if we're gonna play that game or not yet. So it all start in practice and keep playing the 49er way and keep preparing the 49er way. And I think as long as we don't get rested, we'll go a long way in the playoffs.
Mooney, last one for me, and you were a very good player here last year. We all remember you from Kansas City and what you were able to do there. You'll be headed for another contract before long. But this year, is it fatherhood? What is it? Why have you played such good football this year from start to finish?
This offseason, I got closer to God. You know what I'm saying? I converted to, I became a Muslim this offseason. I prayed, more than I ever prayed. I had my daughter. I got a little unconditional love for my daughter. My girlfriend Monique. She been in my ear all year telling me, how great I am. Never get down on myself, even if I give up a play. So. Just that support I done received from them all year, my family, just mainly God, my girlfriend and my daughter, they been on my side all year, and I'm thankful for that.
The higher power has guided you, big dog.
Exactly.
2023 has been an amazing year for you.
Yes,
but
sir.
just think about 2024.
Yeah,
What you guys can
tomorrow.
accomplish in January and February.
I want a ring, man. We need another ring, man.
I know you do.
We got to get number 6 for the franchise.
Happy New Year, man. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Charvarius Ward, biggest play of the game was that pick on the 5-yard line. They
No
went
doubt.
right down the field and scored 95 yards later. A lot more coming your way in the Cache Creek Casino Resort postgame show. 49ers win in Landover, Maryland. The Philadelphia Eagles lose at the Link.
There you go. Charvarius Ward, a big interception in this one. Had a big pick six against, was that Arizona? In Arizona, right? Had the pick
that
six.
was a nice one.
That was a huge game-breaking
Big dog.
play early in that one as well. This one came in the third quarter?
Yeah, they
Is
were
that right?
actually driving to stay in the game.
I got to tell you, second quarter, the Washington Commanders put together a bit of a drive that was concerning. The touchdown drive, the 3rd and 2 play that saved the drive. Like a 42-yard pass to Terry McLaurin on a broken play to, was that Demo Lenore, I think?
He beat Demo Lenore up the right side, then on the touchdown he beat Ambry Thomas, yeah.
Right, he beat Ambry Thomas on the touchdown. And then third quarter, they keep driving. Like, they look pretty tough. The run game was really, really tough. Brian Robinson, if they can get an offense going there, they can get some weapons and a better O-line, and we'll see what happens next year when they likely move on from Ron Rivera. But that guy's a monster, dude. He and Gibson together were kind of a problem. He had a couple of big plays, even on that drive where they took it, 60-some-odd yards. It was a 64-yard drive on their sixth drive of the game, the second of the second half. Washington's, before the interception that changed the game there. And then next drive again, 2 plays and a pick, and that was it. Kind of like last week with the Niners in the second half.
And they were really balanced too, right? I mean, the screen game was working for them. They had a couple quick throws, and the run game was working. Yeah.
Well, the Ward interception, I mean, it was 20-10. They were at the San Francisco 4-yard line with 14:50 left in the fourth quarter. If he doesn't intercept, let's say they score a touchdown at the 4-yard line of the 49ers, it's 20-17 with basically the entire fourth quarter to play. As it were, he comes up with the interception. The long run after the interception gets thrown out, but then that's when they went right down the field. Purdy scrambled on the third down and hit Ayuk. He hit Ayuk earlier in the drive for 38 yards and made it 27-10, and the game's over. But if Ward doesn't pick that ball off and they go in to score from the 4-yard line, it's 20-17 with like 14 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, we all sit here and we kind of laugh and go, God, 27-10, they must have blown him out. But that one play by Ward was the entire game, because at that point, you drive down the field, it's 27-10, and the game's over. So one play really flipped this whole thing.
That was it. Niners 27-10 over Washington. You say one play flipped this whole thing. We'll talk more about a couple of the other big plays in this one. I still think that incredible throw from Brock to Brendan Ayuk might have been the 38-yard reception.
Yeah, on that following drive, after the interception.
Yeah, and the one that ended in an Ayuk touchdown reception, a 95-yard drive. And then again, they get all the way down into the red zone before the turnover on downs, and it didn't really matter. Brock breaks the record for 49er passing yards by a Niner QB in a single season. 2,000 yards from scrimmage for Christian McCaffrey. Third guy ever to do it with 2 different teams. We'll talk more about this one, and I got to get you scores and what's going on from around the league. Kansas City trailing to Cincinnati. What is going on with the Chiefs, and are they going to be able to go on the road and find any success this postseason? Also, we'll tell you what's going on with the Seahawks and how it relates to the Rams and the Niners next week. Adam Copeland, Dennis Brown, John Lund. Niners 27-10 over the Commandos on the Sports Leader.
he had some struggles last week. He didn't play the way he wanted to, but just a testament to the person who he is, football player he is, able to come out here and still throw the football around, still making, like, even the scramble drill. Like, he's not shying away from me. He's coming out here and continue to play the brand of football that he knows how to play and that he will continue to play because he's a special player, and I'm happy for him.
As Brendan Ayuk talking about his quarterback, Brock Purdy. Another big game for Brock, 22 of 28. He will finish the year as the leader in yards per attempt. An incredible number for him this year. We'll get the totals and the rates and all that stuff at the end of this week's total. We'll get it by tomorrow, but we'll know the finish through 16 games. And pretty cool that he sets the Niners single-season passing record in 16 games, which is the number that Jeff Garcia played in when he said it. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ Dennis Brown, John Lund, hanging out with you here following a Niner 27-10 victory over the Commanders. The Rams won earlier today, and so now if the Seahawks lose to Pittsburgh, the Rams are outright into the playoffs, and next week becomes a much different game for these two teams, Niners and Rams. And because the Cardinals helped the Niners out and beat Philly in Philly, the Niners locked up the number 1 seed. Did Philly beat the Rams, right, when they played them?
Yes, they did early in the season.
They went 1-3 against the NFC West. How about that, Philadelphia?
That game blew my mind today. That's what I mean. The pressure is always on the 49ers, but we're watching the Chiefs late in this window against Cincinnati. They're just not the same. Philadelphia's not the same as they were a year ago. Detroit's not quite ready. You mentioned earlier, I guess if I had to choose, Dallas is probably the team that is the biggest threat to me, but they're 3-5 in the road and haven't beaten a team that's going into the playoffs on the season. They're great at home. They just can't win on the road. I don't know who the biggest threat is. Maybe it's Dallas, and I realize they beat them 42-10, but it's not Philly. And to me, it's not Detroit. Maybe it's the Rams who have won before, and they're in the division, so that's always going to be a tougher game against the Rams. But this thing opens up for the 49ers until they would potentially see the Ravens in the Super Bowl because all these teams are flawed, and Cincinnati's hurt. I'm just talking about just the whole league. I mean, it's like they're parting of the Red Sea, maybe outside of the Ravens here, where teams are either hurt or just not as good. I don't know what the issue is with the Eagles, but, I mean, watching that game against the Cardinals today, defensively they're a mess. It's probably going to come out that Jalen Hurts is a lot more injured than I think he was because they look like a juggernaut. They were 10-1 at one point, and they've lost 4 of their last 5. They're just not the same team.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, the only team that I can see really getting after the 49ers, again, is the way the Cowboys and Dak Prescott is playing. But right now, it's the 49ers against the 49ers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Last week we saw, I mean, you with the mistakes and the picks and, and the penalties, you beat yourself. So the only team right now, the 49ers, if they can get that, if they can execute the way they can, I mean, we've just talked about Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Debo, McCaffrey, all these guys are at the top of their positions. So, the only team that can really beat them and defeat them would be the San Francisco 49ers. And any team that's going to come into Levi's now would be the Cowboys, that I would be like, okay, now, I mean, your game's got to be. And they've beat up on the Cowboys. So, and you said they don't play very well on the road, the Cowboys. So, if you execute and do what you got to do, I mean, you should have an opportunity to compete for a championship in Vegas.
This will be 3 straight years the Niners and Cowboys met in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
2021, Niners went there. Remember that? Remember that one? Dak couldn't get the play. That's the end of the game. I like that the refs are saying, no, it's over. It's over. Everybody go home. And then last year, don't forget how that game ended. That was the last time we saw Zeke in a Cowboy uni.
Drake Green lost.
That's the last time anybody did, and he was just standing there by himself at the line. What the hell's going on?
Because, look, they're at Washington next week, so that's not a guarantee because – like I said, they're not very good on the road. But, I mean, on the road this year, they lost at Arizona by 12 points. They lost here 42-10. I'm looking at the team. They won at Carolina 33-10. And then I'm trying to see where their other wins were. They won at the Chargers, and that's all Cowboys fans. And what was the other game they won on the road? I mean, they stink on the road. I mean, just absolutely stink on the road. So I guess it's not a given that they would go into Washington next week, given that they're 3-5 on the road. But
they won at the Giants. They won.
Okay, there you go.
They won at the Giants, at the Chargers.
Yeah, at the Giants. That was the other one. They won 40-0.
They lost at Arizona.
But think about that. They won at the New York Giants. That's not a playoff team. They won at the Chargers. And they won at Carolina, who's the worst team in football. So those are the games that they won on the road. They didn't beat a playoff team on the road, and they lost to every other team. And then at home, they crushed teams. Obviously they struggled against Detroit, but other than that, they killed teams. So to me, the biggest threat is Dallas, but they're going to have to come here. And the last time they did, 42-10, and like you said, I think there's some sort of mental block with the Cowboys versus the 49ers right now. I don't know that they really believe they can beat them. It's just one of those teams that the 49ers match up really well against.
Who have they beaten besides the Eagles?
Yeah.
Who have they beaten? They beat the Lions by 1 yesterday, and a lot of people think they should have lost that game. They lost to the Dolphins. They lost at the Bills. They beat the Eagles. They beat the Seahawks. That one's okay. They give up 35, though, and Seattle may not be a playoff team anyway. Commanders, 45-10, they win. They beat the Panthers. They beat the Giants. They beat the Rams, 43-20. That'll be a decent win, but that was when the Rams were very hurt. I don't think the Rams had a running back that game. Didn't they have like Royce Freeman or somebody something back there?
That might be their best win, but they were hurt, like you said. But, again, they've had opportunities to win statement games
Big
on the road.
Games,
They lost in December at Buffalo by 21. They lost at Miami only by 2, but still, they lost. They've had opportunities to win statement games, and to be honest, the Detroit game, which we talked about in pregame but haven't talked about here, the officials screwed it up. I mean, they would have been down 1 point, 21-20, with 23 seconds to get into field goal range, and their kicker hasn't missed a kick, and he's been phenomenal. So maybe they could have pulled that game out, but they do play well at home, but they don't play well on the road. So, again, I'm not going to say it's a failure if the 49ers don't get to the Super Bowl, because that's way too strong of a statement, especially for a team that just has the number 1 seed in the NFC. But it'll be a major disappointment, just given not only how much more talent I believe they have than anybody else, but also just due to the fact that the NFC is just not very good this year. And if you look at the teams in the AFC, I don't know how the Ravens could lose, because the Bengals aren't a factor. The Chiefs have to go on the road. They're struggling at home against Cincinnati. They're not the same team. Could Buffalo do something? I guess so. But to me, the Ravens look like the class of the AFC, and the 49ers look like the class of the NFC.
Don't sleep on my Browns, bro. Don't sleep on my Cleveland Browns.
I guess if Joe Flacco can pull magic, then we'll have another, a Flacco Super Bowl. And
if Joe Flacco can pull magic, yeah.
Joe Flacco elite. Yeah.
Dude, I'll tell you what. He takes the Browns to a Super Bowl, yes. The answer is yes.
I know, right?
The answer is yes.
Face Joe Flacco again in the Super Bowl for the rematch of Browns-Niners.
Is he the oldest player in the league now next to Rodgers? Is it like Rodgers than him? Like, I just think he's been around for a really long time.
Is there a kicker that's, gold is gone? So
I want to say like the Niners drafted Kentwan Balmer in the same draft they took. I legit was listening to the leader.
Good knowledge.
I was legit playing MLB 07 or 08, the show, like on my buddy's couch in Union City. And we were listening to, I remember we listened to the announcement about Joe Flacco. They traded up to get him, I think, right? Didn't they trade a pick
something like
in the second round to move up to get Flacco? And they got him. We're like the second rounder out of Delaware? Like, what the hell is this?
Who's that guy?
And then I want to say like 2 days later, they took the Niners took Balmer. Nah, neither here nor there. I think it was the same draft. Anyway, he's been around forever, Flacco has. He was playing in a Super Bowl against Harbaugh, right?
Yeah,
he was. Frank Gore's out there,
That's hilarious.
He's standing on the sideline when Frank Gore had the defense on their heels.
I mean, the Niners had a weird quarterback situation last year. There's no question. Really, really weird. But for the Browns to go Watson, and then remember Watson had the weird injury, and then P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson, the kid out of UCLA, and then finally they go to Joe Flacco, who's for some reason dipped into the fountain of youth, or maybe he made a deal with the devil, or however you want to term that thing. But it's like, my God, man, Joe Flacco when he was on the Jets was like, this dude's done, and now all of a sudden he's playing good quarterback for the Browns,
and he's playing well, and but then then you have all the funny stuff, the internet. They show him on the bench. Past his bedtime, he's like taking a nap.
He's like half asleep.
Yeah, he's got this gray beard going. It looks like, it's like, what is going on? But their defense, I'll tell you this, to your point of, I don't think anybody's beating the Ravens, but the Browns beat the Ravens 33-31 this year, and the Browns defense is good. I mean, really good. We saw it, man. Crazy.
Niners 27-10 over the Washington Commanders. One more game next week. They have won 12 straight against the NFC West. Their last loss against an NFC West opponent, the 2021 NFC Championship game.
There it is.
Against the Rams.
Jaquaski Tart catch the ball, and we're going to the Super Bowl.
I want Jaquaski. Okay, I won't do it. It's low-hanging fruit, but it is potty humor joke. Adam Copeland, Super Bowl champ, Dennis Brown, Jaquaski fart. There we go. Yeah, come on. Happy New Year, everybody. I got some fireworks for you. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, you remember leaving the stadium that night?
No, I just remember I was doing post-game, and then on their big board it said Super Bowl bound, and it had all this confetti on the field, and I'm the last one in that dumb building. And you could hear them in, like, the other booths partying and stuff, and I'm thinking, didn't the 49ers, didn't Kittle catch a touchdown right, and then the fourth quarter started, and it was like, they're going to win this thing? Oh, my God.
I got to tell you, I kind of like that building. We'll get you the call of the game, the drive of the game, all sorts of stuff of the game. John Lund's got it for you next. Niners will take over and claim solid now in cement, the number 1 seed in the NFC. They will not play Wild Card Weekend, and the road to the Super Bowl in the NFC goes through Santa Clara. We'll wrap things up at the top of the hour here on the Sports Leader.
Yeah, it's huge. I think we have the best fan base in the NFL. Obviously, if we were on the road, man, they'd show up and travel, but to be home is huge for us. And to be able to play and perform in front of our own home fan base and the faithful, it's going to be special for us. So we're excited, and we're going to take it one day at a time.
You always love that. One day at a time, God willing. That is Brock Purdy, who, by the way, is your all-time yardage leader, single season in 49ers history. He does it in 16 games. Probably won't play much against the Rams next week, and then the 49ers have a couple of weeks after that. So as he said, no more road games for the 49ers. It's going to be home against the Rams, resting some people, because if you didn't hear, thank you to the Arizona Cardinals, who beat the Philadelphia Eagles today 38-35. Combine that with the Lions losing to the Cowboys on Saturday night, and the 49ers are the number 1 seed throughout the NFC. They win today 27-10 against Washington. Again, Philadelphia loses to Arizona 38-35. And controversially, the Cowboys beat the Lions in Texas 20-19. It is time for your drive of the game. That is sponsored by good friends at Modesto Toyota. Of course, my good friends, where I get all my Toyotas, and Toyotathon is on right now. Check it out online. Pick the one you want out at ModestoToyota.com. Kevin and the entire crew out at Modesto Toyota. And you heard the 38-yarder there, of course, with Brandon Ayuk, but here's how it finished. A little magic from Brock Purdy.
Purdy now chased out of the pocket, now going back the other way, a 360 spin, trying to send, throws for the end zone. Ayuk is open. Touchdown! San Francisco. Ayuk is on fire!
On the playground!
Playground plays, you heard Greg and Tim talk about it. Brandon Ayuk, over 1,300 yards. That was his 7th touchdown of the season. Brock Purdy, all-time record holder, as I said, for yards, and the 49ers win it 27-10. We'll give some final thoughts as we wrap it all up just a few minutes, top of the hour, only here on the Sports Leader.
On the playground!
Ayuk is wide left. Debo goes in jet sweep motion. They jet pass it to him. He gets the edge. Touchdown! San Francisco!
We'll make that the call of the game. Sponsored by Call 811. Whether your project is big or small, always call 811 before you dig. Brock Purdy, 2 touchdown passes in this one. You got Elijah Mitchell getting his first rushing touchdown of the season, who steps in for Christian McCaffrey. We saw a lot of that in the second half of games last year as they really ground teams into a paste in the third and fourth quarters. Maybe we'll see more of that as the Niners head to the postseason, and they will as the number 1 seed. They locked it up today after their victory over Washington and the unlikely win for Arizona, who was a 2-touchdown underdog going into Philadelphia, getting a win outright against the defending NFC champions in the Eagles. Adam Copeland, John Lund, Dennis Brown wrapping it up here. Niners over the Commanders, and they're the 1 seed. Dennis, how you feeling? I got to tell you, John, Dennis has been really nervous and anxious.
Yeah.
Since he hasn't been really excited. He's been every break he's like, man, here we go.
Here we go.
It's like big exhales and everything.
Yeah. Well, you take care of business. I mean, you've done what you're supposed to do this football season. Now you've won 12 of your football games. You lock up the number 1 seed. Now you have an opportunity to really compete now for a championship. Now you got to go out and do it. Next week we won't see, like we've talked about, we won't see guys out there, but you got to get yourself together, get your mindset. And you got 2 games. You literally have to win 2 football games at home, then you're in the Super Bowl. And that's the challenge. And it's a tough challenge to get yourself in that space. So it's exciting. I mean, you've done what that you're supposed to do. You've taken care of business. You've done it on the road. You've done it at home at times. But, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to the fans. You owe it to coaches, everybody, to get to a Super Bowl. And that's the challenge.
So they've done it. This is the 10th time they've been the number 1 seed. They've won it 4 times. They haven't won it since, Dennis, you guys won it against the Chargers when you won that Super Bowl 49-26. But they were the number 1 seed in 19, lost to the Chiefs. And then before that, they hadn't been the number 1 seed since 97. They lost in the NFC Championship game to the Packers. But 9 times previously, 4 Super Bowl titles, 3 NFC Championship losses, 1 loss in the Super Bowl, and 1 loss in the divisional. So 10th time they've been the number 1 seed.
Is that the Falcons?
Say that again.
Falcons.
Which one?
Divisional
loss to the Vikings.
Vikings.
87, 36-24.
What was the Falcons loss? Was that 98 or whatever? They must not have been the 1 seed then.
Yeah, but 1 seeds 9 times previously. But again, 4 Super Bowl titles. The first one against the Bengals, second one against the Dolphins. Broncos in 89, they won that one 55-10, and then you guys, Dennis, the last time they won a Super Bowl, you guys were a 1 seed, beat the Chargers 49-26. So 4 out of 9 ain't bad, but I keep going back to this. If not now, when? This thing sets up. Brock's got a cheap contract right now. They got a stacked roster. They got an opportunity. They don't play until January 20th or 21st. Some guys will play next week, but I mean, it lines up perfectly that they can get these guys all healthy, play a couple of games at home like they did in 19 where they beat Minnesota and Green Bay, and they're probably going to play a team that they've already pummeled in potentially the Eagles or the Cowboys. Look like the Cowboys with a win at Washington will win that division. They'll be the 2 seed. Detroit would be the 3 seed. 4 seed will be the NFC South winner. 5 seed will probably be the Eagles. Then 6, 7, and Seattle is losing again at home. 6 seed is probably going to be the Rams, and then the 7 seed will either be the Vikings or the Seahawks. So, there's no team in there where I say, whoa, man. They should win both those games. They should be heavily favored in both those games, and they should be rested and healthy.
Seattle right now trails 24-17. There is just under 7 minutes to play.
They can't stop the run.
They can't stop the run at all. There's just under 7 minutes to play here or there in the third quarter. If you want to hear any of that as we sign off, it's over on our sister station, our KNBR family of football networks. Pittsburgh at Seattle over on 810 The Bread. Also, Sunday Night Football coming up right here on KNBR.
I haven't said that in a while.
I know, thank God, right? The Bread. You can hear Pittsburgh and Seattle over on 810 The Bread. And Packers at Vikings Sunday Night Football. That'll be right here at 520 on KNBR 104.5 and 680. The sports leader, Niners. Their 12th victory to move to 12-4. For old school football fans, if somebody walked out of a time machine from 2015, they'd be like, season's over, right? You'd be like, no, dude, we got one more regular season game, dude. Everything's locked up for the Niners. Yeah, no, we still got to play this one against the Rams. It's a division game. Niners and Rams, and we'll be back with you for that one either next Saturday or Sunday. We don't know the kickoff time or day for that game yet, but we will be on hand for it. Dennis, nice, dude. Number 1 seed. Feeling good?
Yeah. When we know when the game's going to be?
Hopefully tonight. But before we go, how you feeling about your Huskies?
Oh, real good.
Oh,
that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Yeah, we got some CFP tomorrow.
No, I feel good about them now.
Yeah, good deal.
I think they can go in. I think Texas,
They're playing football up in Washington. Dude,
that's how we roll.
Michael, is it Penix or is it Penix?
Easy.
Okay.
Easy.
All right.
Oh, that is
come on. I had to have some fun on the way out. He was all nervous all post-game show. That'll be a good one for you. All right, good luck tomorrow, Dennis, with the Huskies. Yep. John, we'll see you next week, dude. For Dennis Brown, John Lund, Niners win 27-10 over the Washington Commanders, and they've locked up not just the division, but the number 1 seed in the NFC playoff picture. The sports continues only here on KNBR 104.5 and 680, the sports leader.
To IU.